Our lesson today is on thankfulness. Thankfulness. I always thought I was a really grateful person. I saw myself as a very grateful person because if somebody bought me a coffee, I'd say thank you. If somebody held the door open for me, I would say thank you. But when I first got into a spiritual practice, like when I started coming to Unity back in 2000, and other people would say, like, yeah, I was writing in my gratitude journal, or I write out my list of gratitudes, and my gratitude journal, I had to get a new one because it's full. And I thought, well, okay, I'll keep a gratitude journal, and I did it a little while, but it didn't feel magical, and I just forgot about it and went on to other things. I always thought gratitude was kind of just a thing, because I was just giving it lip service. I wasn't actually feeling it or living gratitude. The practice of thankfulness is actually a very advanced spiritual practice. It's not a beginning one. It is an advanced one. It is advanced because it leads us into the experience of abundant living. So it opens the door to more deeply fulfilling relationships, to better health and well-being in our physical body, increased wealth. Like, it actually helps with the money part of our lives, because when we are in a place of thankfulness, we've activated our heart. We've lit up our heart, and we're calling forth. This is the only way we call forth God into our lives. We call forth the good into our lives, is through a thankful heart, which means we're living our purpose, which is to be the means for joy, love, compassion, and creativity to come into this world. But it comes through here. And so I want to talk about having a thankfulness practice. I want to talk about the difference between gratitude and appreciation, because I think you'll find that it's very cool, right? That what the difference is. It's subtle, but it's kind of cool. But first, I'm going to talk about the science of gratitude. See that brain? Gratitude, the practice of thankfulness, lights up all kinds of places in our brain. Okay, so I actually have a list here of science. Okay, science stuff that happens to our brain. First off, it wires and fires new neural connections to the bliss center. Wire and fire new neural connections to the bliss center. We've got tons of neural connections. We've got tons of these pathways that are in our brain already, and it's kind of a go-to for us. All right, and so like if we tend to show up feeling like a victim, well, what happens is that neural pathway's just gotten really deep in our brain. So it's just real easy to go there. It's really easy to go there. And if you've ever noticed, like if you happen to notice you're in a bad mood, if you happen to notice you're feeling ungrateful, sometimes it can be kind of hard to get out of that because you're in this deeply grooved pattern in your brain. Okay, so the practice of thankfulness wires new connections that go to our bliss center. And if we're in our bliss center, we're going to really, truly feel thankfulness. It's going to feel like love, okay? It also fosters cognitive restructuring by evoking positive thinking. So there's a thinking patterns are restructured through a gratitude practice. It reduces fear and anxiety by regulating the stress hormones, and it enhances dopamine and serotonin, the neurotransmitters responsible for happiness. There's actually things happening in our brain that were studied by neuroscientific people. Okay? All right, so it also has psychological benefits. People who regularly practice gratitude are 25% more happier, right? We all want to be happier, right? They're more awake and aware, right? We actually are changing our perception when we practice gratitude. We have an improved mood, and we find more fulfillment with the things we do in our life, right? This increased self-satisfaction, right? We're not disappointed in ourselves as often, right? We look at these little wins, and we're like, yeah, I did that. Right? So when we have a gratitude practice, we keep to it, right? Because we're experiencing more self-satisfaction. There are social benefits. People who practice gratitude tend to be 20% more generous with their time and their money. They also have more deeply fulfilling relationships because they're more forgiving, We communicate better when we are grateful, and we have more empathy. Now, there are also physical benefits, and these are powerful, but these take a little longer over time because we're wiring and firing new neural pathways. We have to establish a new way of thinking, and then eventually it starts affecting our physical body. The psychological, the social stuff, it happens fairly quickly. This will take a little more time, so don't give up after 3 days, okay? But it gives us a stronger immune system. What happens when you have a stronger immune system? Like, the other stuff in your body is like happy, right? Other stuff works better. I didn't even know this. Like, people who practice gratitude exercise more. I'm just like, how can that be? But it's true. Like, I exercise more now, and I have a good gratitude practice. Exercise more now than I did 5 years ago when I had zero gratitude practice, right? I thought exercise was like, well, I mopped. Isn't that enough? We sleep better and have a longer sleep cycle. It regulates our sleep cycles is what it does. Less aches and pains. This was a big win for me. Like, if nothing else, like, let's get less aches and pains. And improved cardiac function. Because our heart, it is the physical manifestation, the physical presence of the energetic way that we go into God. Right, when we go into the love, we're calling it forth through us. I was taught it was called the heart center, right? And it's where the goodness comes through us, but we got to be feeling it, and we've got to be what you call open-hearted. Okay, so that's a lot. That's a lot, right? There's a lot of good benefits right there. There are, gratitude is really kind of a spiritual mystery. Right? There's a lot said about it, but how many people take it really seriously? Okay, I know I didn't take it very seriously for a long time. But gratitude, it shifts our entire consciousness. So we become more aware of how to bring in greater good into our lives. We become more aware of the good that is at work in the world, and we see God as everywhere present. All right, so we're going to go into a thankfulness practice now, And this is what I see as a pretty mysterious practice for the practice of gratitude here that Apostle Paul said, "In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ concerning you." Okay, now, the first time I ever read this, what it sounded like to me was, you must be happy. And I was like, well, what if I want to have a bad day? Stop telling me what to do, Sky Daddy, right? That's how I felt. But as I more deeply examined this, okay, I'm going to break it down into 3 parts here. The will of God. The will of God is divine order and harmony in our lives. Okay, it's not what the Sky Daddy with the long beard wants for us. The will of God is divine order and harmony. Divine will, love, when you think about the universal consciousness, what we're talking about is the expansion of greater good. We're talking about the expansion of the God qualities, love and compassion and creativity, right? That is the will of God. That is the divine order. That's what we were designed to call forth through us. All right, so we've got, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ concerning you. In Christ concerning you. Christ is a way of being. It is a higher level of thinking and a higher level of being in this world. Yeshua was called the Christ because he was smart and he knew how to share information. Right? He knew how to spread spiritual truths. Not everybody listened to him. And a lot of people actually started worshiping him instead of his message. But Yeshua didn't start Christianity, right? He lived as an example, though. And so he was called the Christ. I heard somebody say that the Buddha was Christ also, right? Because the Buddha was a wise spiritual teacher, okay? Because they were able to live in a higher level of being and a higher level of thinking. Now, when we have a higher level of being and a higher level of thinking, we participate in the divine order and harmony of this universe we live in. And that's how we're able to call forth love and joy and compassion and creativity. But we don't always do that. And so here's where the Apostle Paul is really sharing what we need to know, and that is, in everything give thanks. Because that's how we are able to go into a higher level of thinking and being. And that is how we are able then to be in order and in harmony with the universe. Find something to be grateful for. Anything. Okay, in everything give thanks. This means if life is good, find something to be grateful for. Find something to be thankful for. If life is hard, if you are in the darkness and you are struggling right now, find something to be thankful for. Okay, the darkness comes for all of us at some point. At some point, we're all of us going to face struggle and suffering and hard times. At some point, we might feel hopeless and want to just throw our hands up. And what Paul is saying is, in this moment, when you feel at the lowest and you feel like life is the darkest, find one thing out there. You don't have to ever be thankful for the thing that's happening that you don't like. You don't have to be grateful for that. But you find some little thing in your life that you can be grateful for. Some little thing you can be thankful for. Okay, well, a friend brought me some food they cooked and I didn't have to cook something. I mean, that was nice. Okay, we find some little thing to be grateful for, because once we can find one thing to be grateful for, we have an anchor. We have an anchor. And if we can find one thing, then we can find the next thing. And then we can find the next thing. And even if you have to start off with, I'm just so grateful, so thankful, it's not raining rocks right now. I mean, if that's where you have to start. I'm so grateful that I've got a hat I can put on. At least there's that. Start there. Okay? I was thinking, I had this quote recently, somebody sent it to me, but it was, I've never met a strong person with an easy past. I've never met a strong person with an easy past. And like, who here has had, most of us haven't had an easy past. Most of us have had some kind of challenges, right, in our background and in our lives. But when we can, in everything, in the hard times, we can give thanks, we find an anchor, this becomes a catalyst to move through the storm that has come for us. Okay, that one little thing we find to be grateful for. Difficult times, when we can find something to be grateful for, this expands our consciousness. And we experience the love and the joy and the kindness and the compassion in our heart. And we become even better at loving and being compassionate in our lives. Okay, so this is the importance of having a thankfulness practice. Thankfulness practice. But I want to talk about its opposite. There is an opposite, and we want to know the opposite, because we don't want to throw off our moment of gratitude with 80 moments of non-gratitude, right? And the opposite of gratitude, the opposite of thankfulness would be being ungrateful, right? Being complaining, okay? Blaming. Those are the opposites of thankfulness, all right? Rhonda Byrne, she said something really cool. I'm going to come back to that. She wrote The Secret. She did the movie The Secret. But this book, her book, The Magic, is all about gratitude. And she says, if we are not grateful for each thing in our lives, we are unintentionally taking those things for granted. Unintentionally. We don't mean to walk around being ungrateful. But, like, if we had a moment where we complained about something, we were just taking something for granted. If we were pointing our finger and blaming, if we're needing the conditions outside of our life to change so we can be happy, we're not in a thankful place. We don't have a thankful heart, because a thankful heart calls forth the divine. A thankful heart means we're seeing the divine in all things. A thankful heart means we've become solution-oriented. So if we're struggling and if we're suffering, this is kind of a little reminder for us to amp up our thankfulness practice. There is a verse, when I first heard this verse, it's from the Quran, and it sounded really intense, okay? It says, God proclaimed, if you are grateful, I will give you more. If you are ungrateful, my punishment is severe. And when I first heard that, I was like, whoa, that sounds really cruel. And it sounds like it's a capricious God out there demanding, you have to be happy or I'm going to just punish you. And that's how I felt when I first heard this. But teacher Yeshua, he said something kind of similar. It's not as scary or intense sounding, but he said, For him who has, more shall be given. For him who has not, even what he has will be taken away. What we have, more will be given. If we have a thankful heart, we're wiring and firing the neurons in our brain that go to our bliss center. We're going to truly feel the fulfillment and the love and the joy of a thankful heart. But see, now our brain, its reticular activating system, starts seeking things to be thankful for. And then we become aware of opportunities that we wouldn't be aware of if we were in victim consciousness. We have all these new opportunities that seem to be presenting themselves, right? And so we seem to just get more and more and more to be thankful for, right? So what we have already, we're given more of that. What do we have? Do we have a thankful heart? Or are we in blame and complain mode, right? And this is where the punishment being severe comes in. If we are like in the darkness and we are stuck in the complaining and the blaming and we can't seem to get out of it, we just seem to keep feeling worse because we're feeling terrible already. Our brain just always wants to prove us right. Yeah, life sucks and it's really hard and and things are unfair to you and things always work out to everybody else. And look, reticular activating system, I'm going to show you all the reasons this is true. And your brain will find all the reasons that really could be true. Right? So this is why. Okay? Now I want to go back here. This is, I think, this is a unity way of looking at this verse from Paul. In everything give thanks, for this higher level of thinking and being allows you to experience divine order in your life, the expansion of joy, love, compassion, and grace in all that you do. Okay, so that's how we say it here at Unity. All right? That's kind of cool, huh? Yeah, it is. All right. So that's the thankfulness practice. Now I want to talk about the difference between gratitude and appreciation. All right? When I heard about this, I fell in love with this idea. I fell in love with them being different. So here we have, first of all, gratitude is associated with a personal benefit that was not intentionally sought after, deserved, or earned, but rather because of the good intentions of another person. Appreciation is to add more value to the value of what already is, right? You know how cars can appreciate? They gain value, right? Or your house appreciates, or, your antique tea set from old England appreciates, right? It's something good already, but it gets more valuable, okay? The thing about appreciation is that appreciation is focusing on something that is already good, so it's adding more goodness. So what it feels like when we are in appreciation, it feels like fulfillment and love and joy. All right, now, gratitude is about overcoming something. Right? There was this thing and it happened, and then but then so-and-so came in and then everything's okay. Gratitude is about overcoming something. There was a problem first. Right? First of all, there was a problem, and now things are better. So we feel relief and happiness and joy. Okay? So the difference here is that in appreciation, we are already in the midst of firing and wiring. We're in the bliss center in appreciation. We're in the bliss center. Gratitude is getting us there. When we are in our bliss center, we are aligned with our inner being. We are aligned with the divine within us. So we are already calling forth the divine order and harmony of the universe through us because we're already aligned. We're not focused on a problem or feeling relief from not having the problem. We're already aligned. All right, so gratitude, there's relief. We know things are okay, but there's still a little resistance, okay? So I explain it. When we're in appreciation, we're aligned with our inner being. We're already expanding our territory. We're already creating the life we're dreaming of. We're already, and this is all energetically, okay? This is all energetically. But we're already, we've already flung the gates and the doors wide open, all right? We're already doing that. With gratitude, we have the feeling of relief. The problem is handled, and we're standing at the gate, ready to fling it open, right? Ready to fling all the doors and the gates wide open. So there's just a slight difference in gratitude. In appreciation, we have momentum. We're already in motion, in creating the divine order, in calling forth the divine order and harmony into our lives. In gratitude, we're just right there. We're right there. And so a thankfulness practice, ideally, we would want to incorporate both gratitude and appreciation. Okay, now does this make sense? Does appreciation and gratitude, like you can tell the difference, right? Okay. Because this is powerful stuff. All right, so here's our call to action. I show up to life with a thankful heart. And I say thankful because thankful, we can be appreciative or we can be grateful. It's all good. I mean, it really is all good. It's all good. So let's say it together. I show up to life with a thankful heart. All right. Our challenge, like I would love to hear next Sunday how you consciously practiced expressing gratitude and appreciation. And I know for me, like I love this time of year, like starting on September 21st, it's like my favorite time of year, like until we get into the new year. It's my favorite time of year. It's also the time of year that can frustrate me the most because like starting tomorrow, like everybody starts getting really busy and like you could have gone out shopping on Thursday and it wouldn't have been a big deal, but you go out shopping Monday, everything's more crowded, there's more traffic, there's all of that. And so I know for myself, over these next 5 weeks or so, I am going to be faced with that temptation to look at the traffic and blame the traffic for something, right? I'm going to be faced with a temptation to complain about being overwhelmed because I couldn't, organize all the stuff I want to get done, right? I'm going to be tempted to do all that. Now we go into our regular gratitude practice. We go into an appreciation, a thankfulness practice. And that would help any of you all who maybe you're like me and like maybe you'll go there. I don't know. You guys are pretty smart. It takes me a while to figure things out sometimes. But, all of us, right, we just get better and better and better and better and better with the thankfulness practice. All right, so there are actually 2 kinds of practices I'm going to suggest just to get us started because this will help us connect to our bliss center. So the first exercise is just at the end of the day. Name 3 things you're grateful for and why, right? Just don't say, well, I'm just happy and grateful, for Nick, period. There you go. I'm happy and grateful for Nick because, he has a knack for, setting up this musical stuff. And when things are kind of challenging here in the morning with the weather changing, the sound in here is different every 5 minutes. Okay, so you can imagine trying to get a balance out of everything. So I appreciate that Nick patiently approached the soundboard and just kept doing it, right? And so what do we appreciate, or what are we grateful for, and why? Okay, then you do the same with the appreciations. Find 3 things you appreciate, and then write down why. Now, if you want to add a little extra challenge to this, make one of those gratitudes about you. We spend a lot of time. I'm grateful for that guy in over there and y'all. How often though do we actually say, I'm so happy and grateful that I recognized I was about to wig out and I just decided to go to my peaceful center. I actually made the choice to do that for once. And then I was just in my peaceful center and I kind of got an idea, and so I followed through on that. And then this other thing happened, and it was another breadcrumb, and I just kept acting on the next thing, and ta-da, I solved my own problem, right? So do a gratitude about yourself, okay? That you came through for yourself. You did something, right? Something that you can be like, yeah, I did that. And then do one appreciation for yourself. One thing about yourself that you already appreciate. It doesn't need to get better, right? It doesn't need to get this or that. You already just appreciate it, right? I appreciate about myself that, I get an idea to write a song and I sit down and I write a song. It's waiting. The song, I appreciate that. It's waiting at the door and I open the door and then we write a song and I did it. And as long as I keep letting the next song through the door and writing it, then there's always going to be a song waiting at the door. And I appreciate that. Like, I appreciate that that's a thing I can do, right? There are other things in this life that are just so hard, and it's like, there's so many places in my life, like, I don't know what I'm going to do here, but that's one thing I just appreciate. It always just does what it does, okay? So just try those things. Just try them. I would just love to see what you come up with. Share them, okay? Now, the thing about gratitude, the thing about appreciation, the thing about the thankfulness practice is they don't work if we're just paying them lip service. They don't work. If you just say, well, all right, fine, I'm grateful for toilet paper. Well, we all ought to be like way more grateful like for that. That should really activate our bliss center, right? That's a good thing. So we want to really get into the feeling of it. That's how we know we are in a thankfulness practice, because the neuron things are firing and wiring, going straight to our bliss center. So we're feeling it. We're feeling it. We're calling forth divine order, that the love and the harmony and the joy, we're calling it forth because we are feeling it. And then we get more of what we already have, right? All the things we're thankful for, we are opening the way for more. We're living in our purpose, right? To experience those deeply fulfilling relationships, right? To have greater health and well-being in our life, to have greater abundance in our life, because we're living our purpose. We're living our purpose at a higher level of being, at a higher level of thinking, and creating that divine, that universal order and harmony in our own lives. And that is how we are creating heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you are designed to be doing this stuff. You're totally, divinely designed to be doing all of this. And everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is.